Hey, welcome, all of you. Thank you so much for jumping on today to our first ever lead pastor digital roundtable. I know for the next minute or two, there'll probably be some more folks jumping in. So as we get going, maybe drop in the chat, so everyone knows where you're leading from. And thanks for noticing the cool chill vibes as you came in. That was hand selected for all of you. uh, Ferndale's in the house. Olympia's in the house. Look at that. So good to get together. For us being able to do this as lead pastors, I think is really important. And in some districts who aren't as geographically spread out as we are, it's way easier. And I've always been jealous of those. I've watched like Kelvin in the Metro District be able to say, hey, we're just going to have a lead pastor's coffee meeting, at one of the churches, and everyone's within an hour, so they can all pop in the car. And I've been jealous of that capacity. So thanks for your willingness to jump on in this format. It was one of the ways I was thinking that we could start moving towards better connection, getting all of us in the room together. My hope would be like twice a year. And at the end, I'll talk to you about some of the things that are going to be coming up in the future too. But thank you so much for jumping on today. I have I have two, well, I'll say three things. Three big things that we're going to walk through today. First, just a conversation, a tulip on a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. So we're going to be looking at that. The second is I've created a summary of all of you who responded to the network's survey. So I've really quantified, and so I'm going to walk through the results of the quantitative data and the qualitative data on that for us as we look at, man, what should best practice be for us in the networks? What might create more engagement, better engagement along the way? And so thank you all for speaking into that. And then I just have a few updates, district-wise updates at the end. So we'll shoot for our 90 minutes on this as we head into today. So if you guys are good, I think I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna share my screen here. I'm just gonna start with some district updates as far as how are we doing. So I'm gonna look specifically at data results from the annual reports. So you just have a sense of how we are doing on some of those key metrics that the national office looks for. So I'm gonna share screen with you here, and then I'll start walking through it. Um, so first graph I want to share with you is really looking at attendance, overall member attendance, attender attendance, as we look at what's been happening. I'm focusing on 2023 to 2024 on this data, but you can look at the graph and see that I cut a chunk of the last 5 years. And so really, on the graph, you can see the beginning of COVID and then really coming out of COVID to where we're heading towards today. The first piece though I just wanted to say was, it's all good news, right? And in 2023 attendance, we were at around 13,707 in attendance across the district. And in 2024, we were at 16,699. And so we're looking at about a 21.8% growth. That's exciting and that's good news. On the member attendance, we also see growth from 22K up to the 25K. So we're seeing people re-engaging with church, sending us back up and to the right across all of our churches. On baptisms and conversions, that's also going up and to the right, which is good news. 2023, we saw baptisms 835, in our field. 2024 up to 1,084. That's almost a 30% increase. It's great. And conversions. 2023, there were 1,158 people who said yes to Christ for the first time. And in 2024, that was up to 1,633. So a 41% increase. So really great news, right? That we're continuing to depopulate hell across the Alliance Northwest District. I would also say I don't have 100% of all of the annual reports in, so it would actually probably be better than that. So there's my plug to you all to get the annual reports in because we can get a better sense of how are we doing in these key metrics across. So it's really important for us. But yeah, so up and to the right again on looking at Great Commission fund giving and alliance missions in general. It's a negligible increase, but it's still an increase, so that's good. But healthy giving towards alliance missions in 2023 of $2,147,417 were given to alliance missions from all of our churches in our field. And in 2024, that was at 2,152,268. It's not a huge increase, but it was some growth in that, and which is super encouraging. Straight just GCF giving, we were at a little bit better increase, but still negligible at a 1.7 increase from 528,670 to 1,554,701. So again, that's not going backwards, and so that's hopeful and helpful. The last one is on short-term mission trips as we've been re-engaging our people in short-term trips post-COVID. We're back on some incline there. As far as CNMA sites, which is important, 2023, we saw 177 short-term mission trips to CNMA sites. In 2024, that was up to 225 visits to CNMA sites. So we had an increase in partnering with and going to alliance partners globally, which is great. The non-Christian Missionary Alliance sites went down from 468 in 2023 to 2024 to 419. What I don't know with the data is, did the decrease in non-alliance sites, is that because there was an increase in alliance sites, which would be, from my chair, the better win on that. The more of our people and our teams to get connected with alliance international workers and alliance fields, that helps the whole helps the whole for national office ventures, better partnerships in our churches. But I, like all of you, had a large number also of non-alliance. But so anyway, I just felt that was really encouraging in all four of those areas. So as we launch into this morning, I just want to start by saying, good job. Thanks for leading well through some really tough years that we have been walking through. We all felt like, I think it was 2022-ish to 23, a majority of our churches had that miracle of giving spike, that many churches set giving records, which was a surprise in COVID. But then that was followed by a pretty significant dip for most of our churches, which hit budgets hard, and you were all reconfiguring. And then as you're looking at the landscape post-COVID, and how do we do what we are called to do in a world that really shifted and changed. So man, those are just some good statistics to say you're doing well. So thank you for the hard work. I'm proud of all of you on that. So one piece that I'm excited to walk through with you is on this theme of unreasonable hospitality. So there's a There's a book I want to walk through some highlights of learning, and I want to watch a clip of the author who wrote this book. But one of the pieces I have been interested in as far as listening to well, with millennials, particularly younger millennials, Gen Z to Gen Alpha, one of the primary areas and opportunities that have been connecting well with them are churches who do hospitality well. And so, as I look at the concepts in this book, when I first read it, I was like, man, this is gold. Not everything's going to transfer or translate perfectly into ministry, but I do think it gives us some clarifiers, some great questions to ask about how do we lead with heart, intentionality, and extraordinary care as we're beginning to see that those are really key ministry traits that are reaching those next generations. I also think it will give us an opportunity as we look through some of these pieces that sometimes we think we're super hospitable, but we may not be. Or sometimes we become so family oriented that no one from the outside can break into our families, right? So as we begin to think through this and have a little bit of breakout conversation today, I uh, I, uh, I hope this just stirs some great thinking for us on better ways to reach the lost in our communities. So, first question, obviously, we can't kick in live in the room right now, and I'm not sending you to a breakout yet, but here's a question I'd love for you to ponder for the moment, and that's this. Can you think of a time when somebody went above and beyond in making you feel welcomed? I mean, genuinely welcomed. What did they do? What did they do that made you feel that way? How did that shape your experience? You could you could probably look at that question from a North Pole and a South Pole. There's probably some positive experiences and they made you feel great and connected and belonged. Probably some negative experiences as far as groups that didn't go out of their way. But so much of what causes people to engage in a community is really an answer to a question like that. How are they feeling as they step in? What does it take to break in, or does it take anything? Um, and the way it shaped your experience truly is a way it'll shape those who are visiting, checking out your churches. A couple scriptures I just want to walk through. Hebrews 13:2. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some people have entertained angels without knowing it. That's a great incentive. I don't know if you've ever been there, but what a word. Don't neglect to show hospitality. You might be entertaining angels. Or how about this one from First Peter? Above all, love each other deeply because love covers a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. And I can hear probably some of you now, you're like, well, I took the spiritual gifts test. I scored really low. I score really low on mercy and hospitality. So I know that wiring type, but Scripture doesn't free us from growing and thinking about and contemplating how hospitality as a gift is something given to the church to build the church. But I would say to build the church not only for the church, but for those who are not yet a part of your church. Romans 12:9. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer, share with the Lord's people who are in need, and practice hospitality. That seems almost a command from Paul on that one. Titus, rather, he, a leader, elder, right? He must be hospitable, One who loves what is good. This, I guess, this one is the verse that doesn't let us off the hook if we didn't score high on this one on the spiritual gift test, right? Rather, he must be hospitable, one who loves what is good, who is self controlled, upright, holy, and disciplined. We've probably focused on self controlled, upright, holy, and disciplined, and we go, oh, hospitable, maybe, maybe not. We let ourselves off the hook on that one when we really wouldn't on the others. So maybe we should reconsider what we're reading in Titus, and then maybe in a meta narrative way with Matthew. And the king will answer them all. Truly, I say to you, as you did it to one of these of the least of these my brothers, so you did it unto me. The way we treat people. What are some marks of hospitality versus unreasonable hospitality? So, hey, what I want to do right now is invite you to watch this clip from the author of the book Unreasonable Hospitality. The journey he's going to share is of the restaurant that he ran in Manhattan, New York City, of 11 Madison Place. And it became the number one restaurant in the world. And so it's his journey of how hospitality, along with obviously an excellent chef and food, but how they reached number one status. And this book really details how unreasonable hospitality is how he believes they got there. So I'm going to play this, and then we'll come back with a couple highlights, and then I'm going to have you discuss this in groups in just a minute. So watch this.
For nearly a decade, I owned and operated a restaurant called 11 Madison Park. To give you some context, if you don't know what that is, 11 Madison is a very fancy restaurant on the corner of 24th and Madison here in New York City. I mean, like, very fancy. We're talking servers wearing suits and ties, like crisp, ironed white tablecloths, more than 30 cooks in the kitchen, serving like 10, 15-course tasting menus. I think you get the gist. When I got there in 2006, it was kind of a middling brasserie. But by the time I sold it at the beginning of 2020, it had been named the number one restaurant in the world. Yeah. Now, to be clear, our kitchen served unbelievably delicious and incredibly innovative food. Our service was so gracious and as close to technically perfect as possible. And our dining room, I mean, just Google a picture. It's one of the most beautiful out there. And it was because of those reasons that we were consistently on the list of the 50 best restaurants in the world. But it was a hot dog that earned us the number one spot on that list. Or rather, the winning strategy that it gave birth to: unreasonable hospitality. The principle that guided us as we took ordinary transactions and turned them into extraordinary experiences. In early 2010, on a busier than normal lunch service, I was in the dining room helping out the servers when I found myself clearing appetizers from a table of four foodies on vacation to New York. And they were going to the airport to head back home after their meal. I overheard them talking. What an amazing trip. We've been to all the best restaurants. And they listed a bunch. Per Se, Le Bernardin, Danielle, Momofuku, now 11 Madison Park. Then another person jumped in. Yeah, but the only thing we didn't get to try was a New York City hot dog. You know those moments in a cartoon where the animated light bulb goes off over the character's head, signifying they're about to come up with a really good idea? If you'd been in the room with me that day, you would have seen one appear over mine. As calmly as I possibly could, I walked gracefully back into the kitchen, dropped off the plates, and then literally ran out the front door and down the block to the hot dog cart. I bought a hot dog and ran just as fast back into the kitchen. Now came the hard part: convincing the chef to serve it in our fancy fine dining restaurant. Guys, he looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Serving what New Yorkers call a dirty water dog in a fancy four-star restaurant, but I asked him to trust me, and I told him it was important to me. And eventually, he agreed to cut the hot dog up into four perfect pieces, adding a little swoosh of ketchup and a swoosh of mustard onto each plate, and finishing them with a quenelle of sauerkraut and a quenelle of relish. Then, before we served at the table their final savory course, which happened to be a honey lavender glazed Muscovy duck that had been dry aged for 2 weeks, utilizing a technique that had taken years to perfect. We brought them their hot dog. I introduced it. To make sure you don't go home with any culinary regrets, a New York City hot dog. Guys, they freaked out. I'm not kidding. At that point in my career, I had served thousands of dishes and many, many, many thousands of dollars worth of food. And I can confidently say that no one had ever reacted to anything I served them better than they reacted to that hot dog. Each person said it was not only the highlight of their meal, but of their entire trip to New York. And they'd be telling the story for the rest of their lives. See, that hot dog changed the way I approach restaurants from that point forward. Because up until then, I had been so focused on excellence, on all the little details that go into making a meal great, that I somehow hadn't realized something really important. That in restaurants, our reason for being is to make people feel seen. It's to make them feel welcome. It's to give them a sense of belonging. See, in restaurants, the food, the service, the design, they're simply ingredients in the recipe of human connection. That is hospitality. And I realized if we could be unreasonable in our pursuit of that, we could give people the kind of experiences they would remember forever. It was only then that I realized I wasn't actually in the business of serving people dinner. I was in the business of serving them memories. I obsessed over that hot dog. I kept on going back to the experience and trying to figure out what happened that, the whole thing went down. Like, what happens that it could happen? And what needed to happen so that it could start happening all the time? First, being present, which I get, it's like kind of overused these days. But for me, being present means caring so much about the thing you're doing or the person you're with that you stop caring about all the other things you need to do. And it's essential in delivering unreasonable hospitality. See, so often we have such long to-do lists that we aren't able to slow down enough to actually listen to the people around us, to the things they're saying and all the things they're not saying. If I hadn't been present at that table, I never would have heard that throwaway line about the hot dog.
Mm.
Second, it required taking what you do seriously without taking yourself too seriously. Way too often in customer service businesses, we let these self-imposed standards get in the way of us giving our customers the thing they actually want. Okay, a hot dog in a four-star restaurant is sacrilegious, but look at the way it made them feel. And third, it required the acknowledgement that if what you're trying to do is give people a sense of genuine belonging, one size fits one.
Mm.
Hospitality is about making people feel seen. And the best way to do that is not to treat them like a commodity, but as a unique individual. I really do believe I could have comped that table a bottle of vintage champagne and given them a free bucket of caviar, and it would not have had the same impact as that $2 hot dog, because it would not have been specific to them. The hot dog had given us a new true north, and now we had a roadmap. I started talking about it constantly at staff meetings, telling the team like what led to the gesture and encouraging them to go out into the dining room to find opportunities of their own. And they were just as fired up as I was. And we got started right away. Every night, finding a few really cool experiences to deliver to our guests. We had unlocked something important. We knew it was working, but we wanted more of it. We wanted to give these kinds of things to almost everyone. We wanted to make it a bigger part of our culture. And we recognized that we needed to invest in the resources to make that possible. So we added a position to the team. Someone whose only responsibility was to help everyone else bring their ideas to life. We called the position the Dreamweaver, named after the iconic song by Gary Wright. You've heard it, even if you don't think you have. I'll help you. It goes something like, "Whoa, Dreamweaver." Oh, sorry. I just had to sing it because that song is actually pretty important to me. It was playing the first time I kissed a girl. It will now be stuck in your head for the rest of the day. You're welcome. And with the addition of that position, we were on fire. Sincerely. A guest warned us in advance that his dad was more of a Budweiser steak and potatoes kind of guy than Sauterne and foie gras. So the Dreamweavers turned our fancy champagne cart into a Budweiser cart, filled with every available type of Budweiser at every bodega in the neighborhood. A couple came in to console themselves after their beach vacation flight was canceled. So at the end of their meal, we turned our private dining room into their very own private beach with reclining folding chairs, a ton of sand on the ground, and a kiddie pool filled with water they could dip their feet into while they drowned their sorrows over tropical Mai Tais with those little umbrellas. Or a family of four from Spain was in the restaurant. They were in New York on vacation. And while they were eating, the most beautiful thing happened. The kids were looking out our massive windows with wonder. It had started snowing, and it was the first time they'd ever seen real snow. The Dreamweaver somehow found a store that was still open at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. When they left the restaurant, there was a chauffeur-driven SUV waiting to take them to Central Park for the most special nightcap, a few hours of play in the freshly fallen snow. With these gestures and so many more, our guests were obviously happier than ever. But you know what? This is the cool part. So is our team.
Mm.
Because for the first time, they had creative autonomy. They were no longer just helping to execute someone else's vision, serving plates of food someone else had created. They were coming up with their own ideas, and those ideas were affecting the guest experience. They were empowered. But mostly, I mean, we were all just happy because we were making other people really, really happy. There are few things more energizing than seeing the look of complete joy on someone's face when they receive a gift that you are responsible for giving. It can become one of the most beautiful addictions.
Mm.
And as we all found ourselves quickly becoming addicted to going above and beyond for our guests, we found ourselves going above and beyond for one another as well. Now, I'm just going to say this because I'm sure some people are thinking it. Unreasonable hospitality is not just for fancy restaurants. I get it. Some of the gestures I just described were quite extravagant. We did hire people onto the team to help us execute them more consistently. But remember, that hot dog only cost $2, and the impact it had was priceless. It does not take a big budget to start infusing this into your culture because remember, it's not the cost of the gesture that matters, it's how it makes people feel. For most of America's history, we were a manufacturing economy. Now we're a service economy, and dramatically so. More than three-quarters of our GDP is driven by service industries. Globally, it's more than 65%. That means that whether you're in real estate or retail or construction or finance or insurance or computer services, you do the same thing for a living that I do. You're in the business of serving other people. And if you start to look closely enough, you will find opportunities for unreasonable hospitality to give people more than they could ever possibly expect all around you. Take real estate agents, for example. Every time I've bought or rented a new apartment, at best, the agent has left me a bottle of sparkling wine in the fridge as my thank you / congratulations gift. At worst, they've just thrown the keys on the kitchen counter. Now, this is someone with whom I've spent weeks, if not months, looking together for my new home. If they've been paying attention, they should know every intimate detail of my life. So imagine instead if the first time my wife and I walked into the apartment that we ended up choosing, they overheard her talking about the nook she imagined herself doing yoga every morning. And when we moved in, instead of that obligatory bottle of bubbles, in that nook was a brand new yoga mat with a candle and a note that said, "Welcome to your new home." I think that would be pretty cool. And compared to the average commission, it's a pretty insignificant investment in what will inevitably become a lifelong relationship. This is not rocket science. It just requires caring a little bit more and trying a little bit harder. Being present, not taking yourself too seriously, and remembering that one size fits one. Just go with me here. Imagine if the person that checked you into the dentist's office started thinking like this. Imagine if the person that sold you your next car started thinking like this. Or better yet, imagine if everyone on your entire team started thinking like this. Because making good products, it's no longer enough. Serving them efficiently is no longer enough. It's how we make people feel that matters most of all. Because I believe we are on the precipice of becoming a hospitality economy. Listen, unreasonable hospitality helped my restaurant accomplish every single one of our goals. And it turned the people I worked with from a collection of individuals into a trusting team, unlocking a collective creativity and capacity we had never experienced before. So the next time you find yourself pursuing a relationship with someone you work with or someone you serve, I'm just here to encourage you to try being a little bit more unreasonable. Give people that sense of belonging. Give them a memory that can last a lifetime. It will transform your business, but I can also promise you this. It will make you and all the people around you feel really, really, really good. Thank you.
Yes, the book is amazing. I really do highly recommend you pick up the book. The story of that restaurant and becoming one is a fascinating read. I want to hit a couple key themes from the pull out from the book before we have a little discussion on it. But there earlier when in his setup he said three things about the purpose of a restaurant. That aren't on my notes, but I just wrote down again. He said, our job is to help people be seen, welcomed, and find a sense of belonging. Those are ministry words, aren't they? Is like was as people who are far away from God or those who might be looking for a new church or the de-churched and they stumble into our communities of faith gathering around the presence of Christ. I think every one of us in the room would have said those would be three goals we would hope to have, that people would be seen, that they would be welcomed, and that they would find a sense of belonging. And I think it just really it hit me again, even watching that video. I was like, wow, that's powerful. And to hear it from a restaurant entrepreneur, I think is also a good reminder of our places of worship should be nailing that and considering that if we want to reach, connect, grow, disciple, multiply, and send out, right? A few of the key themes I just wanted to reiterate that are in there is in the book, there's a difference between hospitality and service. I think this is important and worth considering. Service is black and white. Hospitality is colorful. It's relational. It's deeply personal. I think we've all been to a restaurant or to a church where we were served, but how it was served to us, the person serving it to us, could make all of the difference in the world. Hospitality, particularly as revealed through this book, but through Scripture, hospitality takes service to another level. So that when we do serve, people know, man, they are serving out of their love for Jesus. They are serving out of their commitment to the kingdom, and that I begin to feel as the person that is receiving that loved, seen, valued, welcomed. So there is a big difference between hospitality and service. Might be a good beginning step to just consider in your ministries. How do the recipients feel? Do they feel served? That's good, but how do they feel served? Do they feel hospitality in that? That's what could we do to make them be seen, welcomed, in the sense of belonging. He noticed intention matters. Every detail, no matter how small, is an opportunity to express care. Intention, the intention of remembering names. Lead pastors, you know it. When we remember someone's name, they're surprised generally, particularly if they're new to the church. They're like, I can't believe Pastor Will. I'm going to pick on you, Will. You're at the top of my screen. I can't believe Pastor Will remembered who we were. And a lot of people say, "Hey, I struggle with names." Well, unreasonable hospitality would say, really work hard then on working through names, and what are systems that you could get acquainted with some of those newcomers to your church and really work at remembering their name, making that a big deal. Small gesture, but remember the person's name actually goes really deep. Every detail, no matter how small, is an opportunity to express care, even remembering a name. The rule of 95 and 5 in the book, he goes through this, and this is what created the dream weaver position he talked about. He said, manage 95%. I put ministry and he didn't say ministry. Manage 95% of your ministry with precision. Invest the last 5% foolishly to create forgettable moments like the Dreamweaver team. What are ways that we could, with unreasonable hospitality, what could we do to make people, groups of people, just feel that seen, welcomed in a place of belonging for them? Take that 5%, spend some time there. Yep, 95% of your time needs to be focused on what we are primarily called to do, right? Which is to depopulate hell, to be missional outposts, pushing back darkness in the communities that we lead, to make sure that the presence of Christ is manifest in our gatherings, not just more religious teaching, right? That we are a transformed people on mission to transform others with the good news of the gospel of Jesus. So, yep, that's what we're called to do. But oh, man, how can we impact even greater with that other 5%? I think that's worth considering, and that's unpacked in the book. Empower and trust your team. Creativity blooms when frontline people are entrusted with freedom to serve. One of the Disney Corporation books I read years ago, and I took my staff through twice, called Be Our Guest, really noted that to remember that your volunteer frontline is your bottom line. If we don't have a well-equipped and oriented frontline who understands their role and how to help people remove the obstacles so they can experience Jesus in that moment, if our frontline isn't welcoming, then we probably won't have return visits, right, from first timers particularly. So it's time to empower that team, which means to equip, to teach, to train. Some of these things are not intuitive. They really do need your time of leadership development. And then empowering them to think along with you. If you empower your team, you will get ideas that will never hit your brain. So how do you empower and trust your team? And that's staff team as well as a volunteer team. And the last one there is the ripple effect of exceeding expectations. Small, thoughtful gestures build a legacy of belonging and generosity. But did you notice where he said how excited his team got by being able to lead, love, and serve in this way? So those are some of the highlights from the book. And again, I'm going to encourage you to grab a copy of that book. And what I'm going to do now is send you into network breakouts. And I just want you to kick around. Let's go for about 10, 11 minutes once I get you in the groups. 2 questions. Where in your church ministry have you unintentionally settled for service instead of true hospitality? That could be a question. What is one 5% act of unreasonable, intentional care we could offer someone this week? Simple but unforgettable. Pick at least one of those to kick around in the room. If you have time for both, that would be great. And just so you know, Hannah's gonna get you moving into the rooms here in just a second. And she'll also paste those questions into chat so you have access to them in case you forgot already. What we have tried to do is set up all the breakout rooms as the networks. So you should be going into your network. We've done the best that we can to set it up that way. And so network leaders, as you're in those rooms, I just ask you to take point on walking through the questions. And if you could, for me, just take some notes, and as you get a sense from the room, what you're hearing, I'd really appreciate hearing that from you. And then I will call you, I'll call you back out. There'll be a countdown, and then you'll be back in this room, and then we'll move on to the second half of our time together. All right, so Hannah, I'm going to say, let's go ahead. Oh no, I one more thing. If you don't have a network leader in your breakout, just select one of you to walk through taking point on the questions. All right. I figured you're all lead pastors. This is normal for you, right? So Hannah, if you can set them loose into those breakouts, I'll call you back in a while. All right. I think we're back. So the breakout rooms kind of worked the way we were trying. So we were close. We were close on by network in that. Uh, hey, and so one more time, this is the book, Unreasonable Hospitality. Uh, Fascinating read. Should really create some good conversation for you and your ministry leaders, you and your staff teams, etc. So highly recommend that. So thanks for engaging with that. So I have 30 minutes left, and I really want to honor your time with the 90 minutes. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go through the survey results that you filled out on the networks. I don't think we'll have time to go into the breakouts for the two questions I have, so I'm going to punt at the end to determine what to do with that. I might ask you with a follow-up email to give me your answer on two key questions. So, but as we head into the survey, first, thank you for all of you who stepped in and took that survey. I've had a large number of conversations over the last years since I stepped into the role about networks and what's working and what's not. And so recently, Olan and I had a conversation with all of the network leaders that we could gather on Zoom to ask some key questions and talk through the themes that really came out in the survey that I sent you. So we had that round of conversation. Your survey results have really also helped to solidify what the network leaders shared. And so I'll walk through that, and then my goal will be to do another follow up opportunity of time to be with the network leaders to take the data that I received and the summary that I'm going to give you to look at. Man, what's the best way forward for us to move forward with networks so that they are highly valuable, engaging, and you're all really finding, yeah, I'm so glad this is worth the time, and it's producing the results that we want. So I'm gonna walk. Let me walk through. Let me find this. Let me walk through the results, and I'm gonna start at the high end of the quantitative, a quantitative distillation of what I received back from everybody. So snapshot, um, big picture, value to pastors personally um, was high. The center of gravity for pastors was between fours and fives. The personal benefit is solid. Personal relationships, thankful for the opportunity to pray with each other, to care for each other, check in with each other, and the encouragement. That was really high. My takeaway from that first quantitative data was that networks are personally helpful, especially for care, for spiritual care and encouragement. So that was a takeaway. The value to your church, the scores spread between 2 to 4, not too many fives on that. My takeaway from crunching through the data, including the verbatims and the Likert scale, was pastors feel less church level impact than personal impact with networks. And church outcomes are a bit fuzzier. So, not sure how to quite quantify that. And then how well networks fulfill the stated purposes of partnership, planting, and the relationships. Again, pastoral relationships, super strong. on that. Partnership with missionaries, IWs, was kind of mid center, near three, mixed strength for that. And for church planting, collaboration was the lowest. It skewed quite a bit lower to the twos and some threes. So there was a clear gap in that. The bottom line for the Likert scale was that relational care is working, planting collaboration legs, missionary linkage is really middling in the midst of that. Some were definitely better than others. The second area on funding and contributions, choice of questions and feedback, should networks continue to collect funds for church planting and missionaries? Responses were mixed. Many of you said yes in principle, but with calls for clarity, transparency, and visible outcomes. Question on, do you feel the financial contributions were appropriate? Varying responses. A meaningful number considered them too high relative to clear outcomes or budget pressure. Takeaway. Funding needs to be tied to specific projects, outcomes that people can see and celebrate. That data came through pretty clear. In what's working, the top themes and some verbatims. Obviously, it was we've already hit, but pastoral relationships and care was the tops. The peer care, soul care for each other, prayer, encouragement, safe. It was a safe room, to be honest. That was a really consistent thread. And that's really, we all know that's super valuable. Where's the safe place that we can share what's going on with key staff or, board issues or people issues? It's hard as a lead pastor if you don't have a place to go with that. And so often, the last place you want to go would be the board, if depending on the relationship with the board. And so having folks outside of your immediate circle is really helpful. So I'm really encouraged to see that that's working well. Some of the verbatims I collected there is like, I just enjoy connecting to other pastors. Praying and counseling with other pastors and friends was high value for this person. So I value the relationships with some really godly men who care for me as a pastor. So those were the top working themes about what was working for you all in the networks. On collaboration and shared mission, when it happens, networks enable friendship that become ministry. So this would be the next one down. So the personal relationships were tops. When collaboration or shared mission has happened, it was powerful. Verbatims we're in Alaska, so this brings the small group of pastors nearby together, so that helps. When we're intentional, friendships lead to real ministry fruit. So when there was intentionality as far as how best to partner, there was some high value in that. The spiritual content and formation with some groups was a high value. The learning, prayer, all of that help when it's curated in the group. So that would be the next level down as far as these things were positive. Or what's not working? What are the pain points in some of those verbatims? The structure and facilitation clarity came up a lot. Inconsistent leadership, unclear agenda, or diffusion between a hangout versus work is like, so there was a sense of what's the true purpose behind this and managing our time together. Some of the verbatims I pulled out, just there seems to be a lack of clarity around purpose and outcomes. We meet, but I'm not always sure to what end. So I think dialing that in will be helpful for the future. Um, the rhythm of what's not working, rhythm, travel, and time and travel friction. This came up as struggle and pain points in the survey. Um, it's frequently not aligned. There is a travel burden, and there can be calendar conflicts. So, and I realize so many of our networks have a different meeting rhythm, and so that made this one a little harder. But for some people, if they have over a 90-minute drive, that was a struggle. I know some of you have even more than that, depending on how rural that network is. Schedule inconsistencies can make the commitment hard. So that was a struggle in there, a pain point. Also, there's a funding tension versus visible outcomes. So there was a sense of the pay to play sense in networks, that feeling. There was an unclear impact of dollars, and some churches are strapped and they shouldn't have to pay to play. So there was a negative hit on that, as noted before. That last quote, we need to see where the money goes and what changed as a result of us giving these pieces. So there's tension, there's some tension in there. Outcomes and accountability. So what's not working again, still here. There's a desire for clear project goals, follow through, and reporting on that. So we need deliverables, not just discussion. Fair. Hard to justify time and funds without measurable outcomes. And so that came up a lot. It's hard on budgets if we're giving, but we aren't actually accomplishing anything, and we don't have a plan. And so there's a disconnect there, which I would completely understand. Um, the biggest disconnect that I pulled out of the survey was the purpose versus the practice. Stated relational health, mission alignment, planting and missionary partnerships. Those are the biggies behind networks, right? That's what's stated. What's experienced is strong relational care, but weak, uneven execution on planting and missionary partnerships. That came out probably the loudest. And you can see that in the verbatims. Great relationships, not sure how we're advancing church planting together. Um, we don't see concrete missionary partnership plans or wins on that one. So few more here. Six. Um, the ideal network meeting, what you say for the most part, what you would want in a network meeting. A balanced format came out, maybe a third relational care, a third formation, scripture prayer, and a third strategy and action. That kind of rose to the top. On the time and the length, a predictable 2 to 3 hours, and either monthly or every 6 to 8 weeks. So either a monthly where we're doing that, or every 6 to 8 weeks. So, every other month was what rose to the top. On the location, to reduce travel. So let's rotate sites, or how could we cluster? And then hybrid when weather gets bad, or for the distance. Can we jump on a Zoom for this? I think it's all good feedback. And facilitation, making sure that the name facilitator has a clear objective, or clear agenda, objectives and outcomes, and to be sent so everyone knows what we're doing at the meeting. One verbatim there was true soul care with pastors. You can be honest with. We want that. Genuine friendships that result in ministry fruit. Scripture care, then action items with owners and dates. So let's get it. Let's like have heard me say for 5 years, hope isn't a strategy. So how do we get some stuff on paper and start taking some actual steps? That rose to the top. Question: what would make me attend more? Clarity came up. Purpose and outcomes. A reason to be there. Design. Uh, Having a good agenda. Stick to the time. Rotate leadership. And what's the value that the majority pastors were looking for? Well, we're looking for practical resourcing, coaching, specific collaboration. So on the verbatims, a clear purpose with measurable outcomes, a facilitator who keeps us on mission, projects that we actually do together. So that was helpful. I think some good words. Um, on the funding, if we changed the funding mechanism, how else could we resource? This what really rose to the top was targeted projects. One plant, one missionary per year per cluster, shared campaigns with time-bound giving pushes and celebrate those wins. In kind and skills, coaching, gear, teams, training swaps. You guys came up with some great ideas. I'll be going over with the leads too. Like in that verbatim idea, well, hey, let's fund one specific plant together. Let's track our milestones, coordinate a missionary project. Let's tell the stories. Let's team it. Let's work it together. On what would cause me to want to opt out? What rose was more repeated low value. If there's no clear purpose, the time burden, only paying in with no outcomes. Those are the ones that are getting us right there. Verbatims. Don't want another meeting without fruit. Someone else said, if it stays fuzzy, I'm out. So I think that's important for us to hold and to weigh and to consider as well. Um, Next one. So I'm gonna bring us back. So I really appreciate the input on that. So from my perspective, as I talked with Jason and I've talked with Olan about, we have a gift in the Alliance Northwest of networks. I mean, it's a gift, and there is a structure behind them. When they launched, they were launched pretty much with they were launched pretty rigidly, right? You do this, you meet, you pray, you play, you plan, you do it overnight, and so there was a lot that not every church had buy-in with that. But the opportunity that we would have if all of us were engaged in a network, I think first off, we see the high value of the connection, which is what we had before with what we called PGNs, Pastoral Growth Networks. We met, and I had a couple pastoral growth networks over the years. We met, we chose a book, we prayed for each other, we checked in, but that was the whole purpose, right? As the district moved towards the networks to say, hey, can we also partner together on plants, and what if everyone in that network also agreed on missionary or a field, to partner with? Great ideas, super great ideas. But the execution of that has been really what the results have shown. And so if we aren't hitting our stated purpose and goals, that it can be a struggle. It can really feel discouraging. I know, to all of us. But the other piece that I with networks that I really would like to tack into, particularly in the next few years, is looking at how does the district partner with you in the networks to bring in key training. So a network meeting where we're bringing in and we're tooling up a network, creating the conversations you guys have together. I mean, I have a number of deliverables that is like, the network is just a beautifully structured piece where we can bring in some key equipping for your teams. So I'd love to see that continue. And so as we head to what's next, like I say, I'm going to take this data. I'll sit down with the leads and look at what might be a best practice in light of everyone's information to say, yes, let's move forward. We know what we're shooting for. We know what we're not shooting for. My goal would be 100% participation in networks by our leads. That creates like I said, avenues of delivering, equipping, and training as well as care for all of you. Doing a job that you need friends and you need partners, particularly outside of your local church. So I still see it as highly valuable, as you all did. So my hope will be, as we head into 2026, that we'll be able to come out with potentially a new platform to say, hey, let's move forward in this way. So my hope will be, after I get another conversation, probably in January with network leads, then I'll come back to you with that. So the question I was going to put you into your breakout rooms for, I think I won't do that. But here I am going to ask, I'm going to send you a follow-up email survey on a couple things. I'll put these two questions on it, but I'll share them really quick. But here's the questions I'd love for you. One, on what's working and why. Could you give me from your experience or from what you heard in the survey results, what's one thing about the networks that you believe we must protect or strengthen because it's genuinely working? And then on the second one's on the what needs to change, what to make this worth it. If the networks are going to be a high value use of your time and your church's resources, what's one practical change that could really make the biggest difference? So I'll put those in the follow-up email to all of you. And again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for engaging the questions on that. My hope is that these will truly become super high value, because I know, when I was in my lead chair and I'm looking at networks too, I'm going, it had to have high value for me to cut in the time, right? So the relationships were great. That was the highest value for me. Other parts I struggled with too, so I completely get that. But so yeah, what do we do to make these super high value that it's hitting key purposes and you're feeling strong about it? So we will continue to move together with that. Let me hit couple updates for you. So we got 7 minutes. First reminder, no renew in January, as with district conference, we're heading to Anchorage and Eagle River. So wanted to make sure we didn't have two financially competing things happening in that first quarter and a half. So we won't have renew this year, moving everything towards district conference. Our theme for district conference is all this year. And my heartbeat for this one is highly evangelism in its essence, that we exist to make sure that all people find and meet Jesus. So we are building our breakouts and our trainings and going after some keynotes on that level of theme. And so you'll be continuing to get some more updates from me on district conference throughout the next months. And we will be at ACF in Eagle River for the sessions. And then we'll be at Captain Cook Hotel in Anchorage for accommodations. And then we'll be working to shuttle everyone back and forth. So that's all getting dialed in right now. So I'll shout out to Brian Cook. Thank you for letting us invade you up there in Eagle River. It's also going to be a great time for us to give some updates on Vision Alaska. So there's just been some amazing Holy Spirit movement things happening that were even outside of the scope of what we had even hoped for. So really excited to be in Alaska as we will be heading into a third year of big idea push for Vision Alaska on that one. We are in November, so just a reminder, leads, if you could move towards year-end giving for Great Commission Fund, if you could build that into your rhythms, maybe that's Thanksgiving or maybe that's in Christmas. I also understand at Christmas I was doing a big push for my own giving for my church, so I understand. So I completely track with that. However, trying to look at opportunities as you head towards the end of the year for Great Commission giving is also a big help to the whole family. And in that email I'm sending out, I'm going to be asking you for Lead Pastor Roundtable, what kind of trainings would you like to bring into this that we could do on a digital platform? Okay, so what high value equippers can I bring in to work with? I have some ideas of my own, but I would love to hear from you to say, yeah, what would make a roundtable with all the leads highly valuable for me and worth the time is if we could address and hit some of these things. Yeah, I'll have you send me some of your ideas in on that too, as we look at trying to do at least two of these gatherings a year. All right, I'm down to 4 minutes. So I have one other I have one other thing I just want to share with you that could help some of you who don't have an executive pastor. I know that's always it's a hard one in the church. So I've been in conversations for a while with Sam Donica, who's the executive pastor in Bremerton, with Jeremy Spainhour. And in this last year, they've done some reconfiguring on staffing. And the conversation I've had with Sam has been about how he might be able to serve Alliance churches, not by becoming your full-time executive pastor, but by helping with some key areas. So I'm going to share this. Where are we at? Boom. So this is Sam. So as we're looking at Alliance XP, Sam had noted at one of, I think at district conference, when out of, we're about what, approaching 115-ish churches in our field. I think only 8 or 10 actually had an XP. So it's a pretty low number that have that XP. He had noted that, and that's really what began this conversation. So he wants to be able to offer some support of XP level skills for conversations about even facilitate ministry, staffing, some of your finance, HR, ops, all of those key XP questions. To be able to do it in such a way that he can help you with something so that you can stay focused on ministry. The three key areas that Sam noted to speak into the essential areas of vision, governance, leadership, staffing, finance, and operations. Some key areas where we often need help. Sam is also jumping on a team with me and Julie here at the office. We're pretty close to finishing 4 modules of board support and board training. So Sam's also going to step onto that, helping us with that. So that would be covered under the essentials. 2, if you need some help talking through or creating items for the formational side of ministry, your gathering, assimilation, discipleship, small groups ministries, or leadership development, and then conversations with you or help to get you moving on the missional area of evangelism and community outreach. So I'll pop this up. There's Sam's contact. In the follow-up email, I'll put Sam's contact information for you on it, plus a link to a really quick video that he did about what he was hoping to be able to offer more Alliance churches in our district particularly, right? So that's it on my updates. So awesome. Thanks again. I really appreciate y'all jumping on today. We're at the 2:30 mark, so we're on time. I'm not dragging this out on you too long, but again, thanks for doing what you do. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much, and I want to keep looking for the best ways for our team here to partner with you for success in ministry and health in ministry and longevity in ministry. All right. Let me pray over you and let you go. So God bless these guys, bless these churches, fill them, Holy Spirit, anoint them for this new season of ministry. And God, I ask as they head into this week that you would inspire them to make sure that every person that they encounters the very living presence of Jesus. We love you, and I pray these things over you all today in Jesus' name. Amen. You guys have a great day.